Good morning. Got my breakfast here. I'm not much of a camera person. I really don't do too much recording of myself, hardly ever. But today, I guess we're going to be doing a deck tack on Harkoon Daggers. I guess the deck tack's going to be reasonably priced. Just kidding. I haven't charged for decks since 2019. I no longer do that, no ways. So, what's my story, huh? Well, I used to be kind of high profile when it came to competitive EDH. And I used to be on the competitive EDH rules committee when it existed. I kind of made some public mistakes with Sheldon and ruined it all, and they didn't want me to do anything with competitive EDH anymore. Oh well, I guess they could do it better anyways. Sometimes you make mistakes. They weren't exactly the forgiving kind either when I did make that bad mistake. Like my shirt, Surfing Mound. If you ever heard of it, you should look it up sometime. It's a very cool place. So after that little mistake, they didn't really want me doing anything anymore, and then I got into a few little bitty fights with some people and got banned, and then a few years later I tried to, it's just, one of those things where you make a dumb decision, and I wanted to be involved in the rules committee discussions. I just wanted to watch, maybe make a few suggestions or recommendations, but they were so pissed off of me asking to be involved, and they just decided to ban me from those competitive EDH groups. And well, there was that's pretty much the gist of it. I had a few little bitty fights here and there, and got banned, from as well. So it's a public kind of a thing too, and it's not just, some one-to-one kind of things. But some competitive EDH players can just be so disrespectful. It don't matter how much skill and experience you have, or how many competitive EDH tournaments you've won and all that. Some people are just going to be rude and disrespectful. They don't know when to, be nice. So my story sort of starts back in about 2000, and I started playing Magic the Gathering in 2007. I've been playing for 14 years now, I think, yeah. Then I've been playing competitive EDH for about, 11 to 12 years. And I started being really involved in competitive EDH, well, the format didn't even exist then. It was just casual EDH every damn where. That's all everyone played right then. I had this fascination with wanting to know what the best deck is and what it would look like. I understand that was a real rule breaker. You couldn't play competitively in EDH. Every time I would get kicked from the games. People hated that shit. Nobody liked that. No, sir. And then I made a tier list, and I think it was 2010. I think that's when I did the tier list. That was the first tier list for competitive EDH. And it really got the community going. They're like, "Oh, that's the best deck in their format." I mean, people do this stuff. Yeah. 2012, I founded Top Commanders, and I started writing competitive EDH content, reviewing cards for competitive EDH, spoilers, writing articles and stuff from the Facebook page, doing deck techs and stuff for decks. That went on for several years, and I made so many decks. I used to make a lot of tier lists and stuff too, and I'd make decks for the tier list because we really didn't even have a metagame hardly. But it did evolve. It came on real quick. More people are like, I can make a deck. I can get involved in this too. So I started having to add other people's decks to the tier list anyways. Especially when the metagame started evolving and people started participating and having an interest in it. And tournaments were getting started. Now, some people just didn't like giving credit for the decks and stuff that I would work on, and some people didn't really appreciate the brewing skill and the expertise and all the work and time and effort that I would put into making, these decks that they would read about. So I decided, it'd be a great idea to probably charge for these deck tags. And I made a company, and I had a website, and I charged for the deck tags. And I worked so hard on them. I gave them 120% effort. I spent hours and hours every day. I spent months working on decks, trying to and making them more consistent, constantly testing them. And then, it wasn't very well received by the community. They did not like them. They just didn't like it. It's just one of those things. And then I sort of stopped doing the deck tags. I think it was 2019, I think. Yeah. No way. 2018. I think it was like 2016 that I stopped. And let's see. And then I had a car accident in November 2018. It's November 15, 2018. It's when I had the car accident. And let's see. I played in a couple of major competitive EH tournaments. I've had 3 top 16s. A lot of my decks have won, dozens and dozens of paper competitive EH tournaments. My decks have also won multiple paper commander EDH tournaments. So just besides the top 16s, my decks have been played by other people, and there's been a lot of tournaments that have been won, first place positions with the decks that I would brew. And I didn't always put the decks on the internet and make premieres and deck tests, and sometimes I don't even feel like writing all that stuff, sometimes I just don't really care too much to explain why my deck is good and win so much and beat some people. Sometimes I just don't feel like doing all that work of making a fancy premiere, explaining every single combo in detail about the deck. It's a little effort just to write all that, and then big deal. Of course, it helps people understand your deck and get it explained and get people on board and get it listed on the competitive EDH database and all that other good stuff. I've done premieres. I just don't do it for every single deck I've ever made because I've made thousands of competitive EDH decks. Lots and lots of decks. There's a minimum of 3,000 competitive EDH decks, I know that for sure. That's a lot of decks. Since, for someone who's been playing for more than a decade and brewing decks all the time, playing competitive EDH all the time, that's a long time. And that's where you get that expertise from. You get the skill and the experience. You just do something a long time and just do it all the time. And well, I've been, working on repairing my reputation because I used to be such a bad player in the early years of EDH. I used to have a bad attitude. I wasn't a very nice player to come across. Oh, I didn't like losing either. Even though I rarely lost, I wasn't a very good loser either. And even worse, I was a very poor winner. But, I've learned to be respectful of other people, and, I've just changed a lot over the years. Some people they just change, they get, their behavior and such changes. And so after my car accident, I've sort of taken a semi-professional approach to competitive EDH, and I still brew and I still try to play, but it's nothing like what I used to do. I'm lucky if I can be up for several hours a day without having to lay down or feeling really pitiful, with my neck and spine problems. And I do regret not having put more effort into a YouTube channel and Patreon. That would have been fantastic for me because there's just so much information and content that I wanted to give out. I also had a website where I was making competitive EDH courses. I had to take that down because I couldn't afford to keep it running. I wanted to write a book. I still want to write the book. It's just, I'm feeling pitiful all the time. Can't sit up and write. Sometimes I have a little bit of trouble focusing and stuff. What else? I think that concludes our video. A little bit about me and my background. I'm going to go ahead and eat that Subway sandwich I just got. Have a good one.